Hey everyone, this is Nikachu, and I am here to talk about the newest card that has been spoiled from M19, and that is Mistcaller. Let's look at it. It's a blue for a 1/1 creature. It's a Merfolk wizard. Sacrificed Mistcaller. Until end of turn, if a non-token creature would enter the battlefield and it wasn't cast, exile it instead. Now, it has very fair stats, and I would like to see more 1-mana Merfolk printed by Wizards of the Coast. If you look at all the Merfolk for 1 blue mana, there aren't many, or they're like complete rubbish trash. This thing is actually trying to do something. It is a very unique effect, and I like where it's going. I like what they're trying to do. It is a very powerful effect. The only problem, however, right now in the time of Modern and Legacy, it does not have a very good place for our deck. Now, intuitively, you would think, okay, this is good against Reanimator. That's true. That's completely true. But where are the Reanimator decks? Are there so many Reanimator decks that we will play Mistcaller? And I think it is better than Curse Catcher versus Reanimator decks, but I also think that Curse Catcher is still a fine card in that matchup. So I don't know if it is completely replaceable. I will say straight up that this card is a bomb against Chord of Calling decks. Chord of Calling and Collected Company decks. We're talking Counters Company, Elves, or any sort of Eldritch Evolution deck. Decks where they're searching their library for critical creatures, and they've spent very large amounts of mana, or tapped creatures, or sacrificed creatures, and then in response you sacrifice Mistcaller, and boom, you get a really great amount of value, and they've dumped their card. The card has been spent and wasted. That is where the power of Mistcaller will be. And if you're in a metagame with tons of Elves and Counters Company, and maybe some Eldritch Evolution shenanigans, this is a card that you're gonna want to have in your deck. Unfortunately, the metagame is not full of those archetypes, and as far as I'm concerned, other uses for this card would be against Dredge. It's fine against Dredge because of Prized Amalgam. You have no option with Prized Amalgam whether you want it to enter the battlefield or not. So let's say Prized Amalgam is triggered. It has to enter the battlefield at end of turn. It's not a may. This thing is just sort of awkward versus Living End, because Living End is going to resolve anyway, and all your creatures are going to get wiped. On the other hand, their creatures will not enter the battlefield, but your board still got wiped by Living End, and they can still get back in the game by cycling their creatures and getting the chain all over again. So it's like, it's fine against Living End, but it's not amazing. You might as well have a counter spell. It has some uses against, say, Eldrazi Displacer, Flicker Wisp, or Restoration Angel when your opponent tries to target one of their own creatures for value. But is it really value? I mean, you're going to get those creatures exiled forever, but those creatures were still in play for quite some time. And of course, the Mistcaller probably is already in play, so you're just preventing them from ever making those plays. They're never going to literally play Restoration Angel, target, I don't know, Snapcaster Mage when you have a Mistcaller in play. It would be really, really silly. But I think that's about it. Some people think that this is going to be so good against Hollow One, that this is going to be so good against humans because they have Ether Vial. The problem is, let's take humans for example. Let's say they activate Ether Vial. That's the moment where you have to sacrifice Mistcaller. If you wait for the creature to enter the battlefield, it's too late. So they activate Ether Vial. I sacrifice Mistcaller. Then the Ether Vial opponent just doesn't put anything in play. Nothing. and you just burned a card, and they'll just play their creature next turn with their Ether Vial. So it's not good in that matchup. So it's not going to be good in any situation where the opponent has the option to go back on their effect. That's the same thing with Bloodghast. So the landfall ability will trigger, you're going to sacrifice Mistcaller, but then they don't need to put Bloodghast in play. So the point is you need to be sacrificing Mistcaller before the creature enters the battlefield. So this is going to be the case with Flamewake Phoenix. This is going to be the case with Bloodghast, and who knows how many other situations. So it's going to be good against Reanimator. It's going to be good against Coco and Court of Calling. But don't forget, it's going to be completely blank against just a gigantic chunk of the modern metagame. It's really just going to be a 1/1 creature almost all the time. And for Legacy, I think it has maybe a little bit more applicability to Legacy, but not really enough. I mean, we still have to get through Grixis Delver and so on. I mean, fine against Show and Tell, fine against Reanimator, but those are probably not the matchups we need this the most. So, very interesting card, very interesting design, unique design. I won't say that this is necessarily a bad card, but it just has no position right now in the modern metagame, and it's most definitely going to be sitting on the bench waiting for some opportunity in the future. So once again, this is a very powerful card. I think it has a very powerful effect. Great casting cost, very fairly costed, but not positioned whatsoever. So if there's anything that you think I've missed, let me know in the comments section below. This has been Nikachu talking about Mistcaller from M19.